Hey everyone, it's Anne here from English Valley Cafe. Have you watched the video from last week where I talked about the importance of focusing on and finding joy in the English learning process? If you haven't, I'm going to leave the link right below here in the description, and I strongly encourage you to watch that video because today's lesson is going to be like an extension of last week's video. I'm going to go over some vocabulary words that I used in that video. But besides that, I strongly encourage to watch last week's video if you're feeling a little bit unmotivated with your English learning, or you're just very frustrated and you're not enjoying the learning process. I strongly encourage you to watch last week's video. Quick recap of what I talked about in last week's video. It was just some of my thoughts that I wanted to share with you after doing some self-reflection as a language learner and also as an English teacher, and the importance of finding small joys in the learning process and to really just focus on the small things, the small achievements, making meaningful connections and using and practicing English in the process rather than constantly focusing on that end result. And so that was something that was I felt that is has really helped me as a language learner. And the other thing that I mentioned is by digging a little bit deeper and to think about some of the things that we've learned as a language learner, going through this process to think about what has language learning or what has English learning taught me. So that was kind of what I talked about in a nutshell, but I strongly encourage you to watch that video. And today in this video, I'm going to go over some of the vocabulary that I used in that video, and hopefully this will help you to broaden your knowledge of vocabulary. But more importantly, I like to do this because it will help you to learn new words and context. Now, today the vocabulary that I'm going to go over are just English phrases and collocations. If you've been learning English with me for a while, you know how I really emphasize the importance of learning collocations when you're learning English words. So collocations are just a set of words that always go together. I'm going to go over the words as it appears in the video last week. So in case you kind of want to go back and listen to the examples or what I talked about in my other video. All right, so let's dig into this. The first one is do self-reflection. Do self-reflection. Or you might hear people say look inward, or check in with yourself. Okay, look inward, check in with yourself. And this just kind of different way of saying do self-reflection. So when people do self-reflection, it just means that they take the time, they give serious thoughts to evaluate, to think about deeply their behaviors, their motivation, their attitude, and their desire. Do you do self-reflection? I know I love to do self-reflection from time to time. It helps to keep me grounded and just to make the things that I do more meaningful, and I don't feel like lost or like I'm just chasing after things because everybody else is doing it or because people tell me to do it, but to really connect with myself more deeply. So yeah, do self-reflection. I strongly encourage you to take the time sometimes to do some self-reflection. It'll really help you to grow as a person, and it'll definitely help you with your English learning as well. The next phrase is make New Year's resolutions. Do you make New Year's resolutions? Is it something that's common in your culture? I know in the US it's really common that people like to make New Year's resolutions. So at the beginning of the year, they will write down things that they want to improve and do better the following year or in the new year. So some examples, like people always say, oh, I want to take care of myself. I want to exercise more, or I want to lose weight. If you're learning English, you might write down some things that you want to do better this year, like you want to maybe have more confidence in speaking English. So these are examples of making New Year's resolutions. The next two phrases are really common in daily conversation, and that is get sidetracked and stay on track. So when we get sidetracked, that means that we lose focus of what we are doing and then we start doing like the unimportant things. So for example, I think this is a good example that we can all relate is oftentimes I will pick up the phone and say, okay, I'm gonna check the weather or I'm gonna check an email because I'm expecting an email. I pick up the phone and I see something on Instagram or I see something on YouTube and I start watching that or I start scrolling through and I forget that I was actually there to check my email or to check the weather or whatever I was gonna do. So I get sidetracked or I got sidetracked. This is something that we don't want to do, but rather we want to stay on track, stay on track. And when you stay on track, that means that you focus on the important things that what you're supposed to be doing and you know, make progress and you see improvements. So in last week's video, I was talking about how it's important that we set goals, but we don't put all our focus on the outcome, but to enjoy the process. But at the same time, it's important that we do set goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, because that way it'll help us to stay on track, to track our progress in learning English and to stay focused so we don't get sidetracked. We got 3 more to go, so don't go away because these last 3 are really useful. Slow and steady. Okay, slow and steady. And this is a collocation. We often use slow and steady when we are talking about the pace of something. So in my example last week, I was talking about the importance of being slow and steady when we learn English. Steady means that you're going at a very consistent pace, so slow and steady. I know some English learners, they start off being really enthusiastic, they're really motivated, and they do a lot of things because they want to improve their English, they want to speak better English. But after like 6 months or even a year or a few years, they don't continue with their learning for, I don't know, whatever reason. Maybe it's too difficult or they're not making progress. Okay, so this is something that I wouldn't recommend doing because learning doesn't really happen overnight, especially when you're learning English. And if you go at a slow and steady pace, you will definitely see progress. That's if you put in the time, you put in the effort, you put in the dedication, and you are using the right method. Now, the next one here is actually a phrasal verb, use up. Okay, use up. So in my example, I said if you go really fast, you're gonna use up all your energy. The phrasal verb use up means to consume. To use and deplete something. So for example, use up energy or use up space, use up your credit. Okay, so these are some examples that we use with the phrasal verb use up. Saving the best for last. I really like this expression here. Take something at face value. Take something at face value. I think I made a mistake in my video. I think I said take something for its face value. So see, this goes to tell you that we all make mistakes and it's okay if you make mistakes as long as you learn from the mistake. We take something at face value. That means that we accept something or we accept what people say as it is without questioning it, without thinking about it. even though maybe what you read or what you see, what you hear might be untrue. So I think in the video I was talking about, that I become a critical thinker. And I talked about the importance of this, especially nowadays on social media. We can, read and see and hear all kinds of things. I think it's really important that we are a critical thinker and to, not just take things as it is, what people tell us, but sometimes we really need to just dig deeper and think critically. Yeah, so that's it for this video. If you've been watching the videos here on this channel for a while and you enjoy it, you're benefiting from it, please help me share the videos with other people who are learning English. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you get a notification when a new video is released, and that is usually every week. All right, thank you so much for joining me today, and I have a lot of more great content in store for you this year. So yeah, come back and check in, and hopefully these videos are helping you. Take care, have a wonderful, awesome rest of your weekend or your week, and I will see you in the next video.